This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
You are now about to start recording the shir. When you are finished, please hang up.
Okay, good evening, everyone. We're yet to start Talmud Dvorah, not ready yet, but I'm working on it. So I wanted to start already Parshas Lech. My Zayda, Reb Menachem ben Reb Yitzchak, Zecher Tzaddik Levrachas Chusi Yogan Aleinu, who was a master of gematrias. One of my favorite gematrias of his is in Lech Lcha. It says Lech Lcha me'atzcha me'maladcha me'beis avicha el oretz asher areka, to the land which I will show you. And of course, part of the Nisayon of Lech Lcha is that Hashem didn't tell him where he is going. You know, it's hard enough to move when you know where you're going. To move when you don't know where you're going is a real challenge. It's one of the big nisyonos of life. It was a tremendous test of Avraham Avinu's emunah, the of emunah. So my Zayda was very proud that he told this word over to the stipler, Rav, and the stipler had tremendous honor, and he used to say it over in my Zayda's name. Areka in Molay, spelled Aleph, Reish, Aleph, Chaf. That's pure Molay. Aleph, Aleph Lamed and the Fei, Reish Yud Shin, Aleph Lamed and the Fei, and then Chaf and the Fei is exactly B'Gematria Eretz Yisrael. So it's there embedded in the Torah, and it says Areka that it's Eretz Yisrael. You just have to know where to look in the Torah. You know, it's like I always tell people that when Rabbi Metzger was here in Staten Island, I remember he came to meet the Rabbanim of Staten Island. So when I met with him, at that time he was the chief rabbi of Staten Island, so he asked me to tell him a Dvar Torah. So I told him that there was a sefer of gematrias. This predates computers, which is really astounding, because this is the kind of stuff that you would expect to have with computers. But this predates computers. So I told him that there's only one pasuk in the Torah that is b'gematria Eretz Yisrael. Only one pasuk. And that's Hashem Ish Milchama Hashem Shmai. Hashem is a man of war. Hashem is his name. Right? That means that whatever we think is, because of the Israeli military and because of their, super Yiddish cup, is really Hashem. Hashem Ish Milchama Hashem Shemai. And I remember he took out this very fancy, like something like Dr. Maskowitz carries, a very fancy leather holder from his pocket, and had a pad in it. And he wrote it down, and he said that as soon as he gets back from America, he has a meeting with the generals, and he's going to tell them this word. And that's what we said when we were learning the daf in Menachos, and it says that the reason why we do the lulav and esrig in all four directions and up and down is because it shows that Hashem is in control of the four directions and above and below. So Ramosha says that that's the origin of the Magen David. No, it's the six-sided Star of David, which David HaMelech had on his shields of all of his chayalim, Chayali-based David, was to depict that it's not it's not, we're not going to battle with our strength, but we're going to battle with Hashem. Those are the four directions. That's what we say. Elav arechev, ve'elav asusim. They with their chariots and they with their horses. V'anachnu b'shem Hashem alikeinu nazker. And we go with the name of Hashem. Right? So I was in a car with somebody, a good friend of mine, and he told me that he used to be a tank driver for the Israeli army. He says, I said, well, was it difficult? He said, Israeli tanks are not difficult. But the Israelis, during the different wars, got a lot of the Russian tanks. They took them away from the Arabs. He said the Russian tanks are very difficult to drive. They're very difficult. But he says, you have to remember, you're in this tank. I asked him, what happens if you hit a mine when you're in the tank? So he said the only time that you're in trouble is if the mine hits the ammunition of the tank. If the mine hits the ammunition of the tank, then nobody survives. But otherwise, the tank is stronger than the mine. But if the mine hits the ammunition, he says when they do tank warfare, they know precisely where the ammunition of the tank is, and that's the danger. When you're in a tank, it's not you, it's not the tank, it's B'Shem Hashem. So that's the Magen David, that's the six-sided Star of David. And of course, whenever you think this way, you also have to add, as Dr. Moskowitz knows, the word of Rabbi Yisrael Salanter. Because when we say Echad in Kriya Shema, so the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch brings down that the kavanah of Echad is to break down the letters, and Aleph is the one and only, Ches is the 7 heavens and 1 earth, that's 8, right? And Dalet is the 4 directions. That's the kavanah that Kitzur Shulchan Aruch says in Echad. Right? The Rabbi Yisrael Salanter says, when you're appointing Hashem over the 7 heavens and the 1 earth and the 4 directions, don't forget about yourself. He says, if people make a mistake, there, here, everywhere, what about yourself? Don't forget to appoint him. The Iker of Kabbalah Sol Malchus Shemayim is to appoint him over yourself. There's a medrash that to me is extremely important when we come to Parashas Lech Lecha. It's a medrash I've said in the past, but Barry will remember this medrash, but I don't know, it's one of my favorite midrashim. It's a way of life. That has nothing to do with Barry. He utters sweet nothings in the back. The Maisa, I'm sorry if you heard this, it's good to review this Maisa. But the Maisa is that a couple came to the great Reb Chanina ben Daisa, and for those that are not familiar with Reb Chanina ben Daisa, in the 3rd parak of Tanis, which is one of the most fun parakim in Shas to learn, if you're looking for an easy parak in Shas to learn and have fun, the 3rd parak of Tanis, it's all about miracles, and Reb Chanina ben Daisa is the one that when his daughter came to him and said to him, Tati, I made a mistake. I put in vinegar instead of oil in the Shabbos candles. So he said, don't worry. The one who said oil will light, he'll say vinegar will light. And that was Reb Chanina ben Daisa, the great Reb Chanina ben Daisa. So he's the Rav in this story. It's always a humbling, thing to think that there were Rabbanim like Reb Chanina ben Daisa, and to be a Rav, you have to step into those, in that office. It's very humbling. So anyway, a couple could not have children. And this incident happened in Eretz Yisrael. So they were married 10 years without children. So they went to Reb Chanina ben Daisa, and Reb Chanina ben Daisa said, look, you're both young, you're 10 years already childless in Eretz Yisrael, you should divorce, so that there will be a hope that each of you with another spouse maybe will have children. But he told them a very strange thing. He told them that I want you to make a big celebration like you did when you got married to celebrate your divorce. It's one thing to tell them they were very much in love. It's one thing to tell them to get divorced. It's, an entirely other thing to tell them that when they get divorced, they should send out invitations. We invite you to Sudas Girashchem. This is something that even Dr. Moskowitz never went to. A Suda of divorce. So, I myself, as a Rav for 35 years, never saw a get given. I just can't see it. As a matter of fact, my father's mother, who was gassed in the concentration camps, Hashem Yinkum Dama, her name was Esther Gittel. And I can't give the name Esther, because my mother's name is Esther Fradel, but I could have given to any of my children the name Gittel. And also my Shver's daughter, who was killed by the Nazis from his first marriage, was also Gittel. So the name Gittel would have been I could never give the name Gittel because it contained in it get. I just couldn't bring myself. My brother, his oldest daughter is Gittel Taiva. He gave the name Gittel. But I couldn't bring myself to give to any of my children the name Gittel. But anyway, so it's a hard enough thing that they had to get divorced. But listen, if Rav Chanina ben Doisa tells you to do it, so you do it. So they sent out invitations. We invite you to the Suda of our divorce. Please come. And they made in Marina del Rey a big, shebang. And the husband came over to his wife. This is before the divorce. This is the pre-divorce celebration. With tears in his eyes, he says to her, "Look, this is the hardest thing I ever did in my life. We're of course going to divide our assets, but I want to give you the first pick. You want the house, take the house. You want the horse, take the horse. Whatever you want." So as soon as she heard that, the medrash is a medrash. Medrash says she plied him with strong drink, with the heaviest wines. He fell asleep, and she had the Meshosim carry him to her father's house. So he wakes up the next morning, he's in his Shver's home. I said, where are we? She said, "My dear husband, you said I could have the one thing I want. The one thing I want is you." It's a real romantic story, right? So they go back to Rav Chanina ben Doisa. Rav Chanina ben Doisa gives them a bracha that within 9 months they'll have a child. And they did. That's the end of the story. So it's a nice, happy Emily. Everybody lived happily ever after. But the story is boggling. If he could give them a bracha, give them a bracha. What do you have to tell them they should get divorced and make a party? It was an expensive party. You know how much Marina Del Rey is? I mean, the whole thing doesn't make sense. You're a miracle worker, so give them. What's pshat in this beautiful medrash? Pshat in the medrash is, people look like you didn't hear this from me.
I did.
You did, yeah. Barry?
I'm still with the Marina.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I'm still at
Yeah, he's still at Echad, Yeah. So what's the lesson of this story? The teva of this couple was not to get married, not to have children. When you go to somebody and you ask, you can't be mispal for a nace. So he gave them something to do, shaloi kederach hateva. Why make a party? Why do we make a party when we get married? To be mekayim the mitzvah piriv v'rivya. The two neiros that they carry down, the chassan and the kala, ner is $250, ner plus ner is $500. It represents the 248 limbs of the woman, the 252 limbs, 248 limbs of a man, and the 252 limbs of a woman that are being fused. That's 500. But it's also B'gematria Pruruvu. That's the mitzvah. He said, you're getting divorced also for Pirya Verevia. So it also deserves a simcha. But he says to take a couple that's in love and ask them to do that is Shaloi K'derech HaTeva. You were able to do Shaloi K'derech HaTeva, something unnatural. Now I could pray for you Shaloi K'derech HaTeva. Now I could ask Hashem to do for you Shaloi K'derech HaTeva. And that's why they bring down this medrash as a lesson that any time you want to be able to achieve something Shaloi K'derech HaTeva, you have to look for things that are not natural for you. Right? So if, for example, it's hard for you to get up in the morning and you break your teva, so then you could say, Hashem, I broke my teva, please do something for me, Shaloi K'derech HaTeva. Right? There are people who just can't stop talking in shul. For them, it's Shaloi K'derech HaTeva. People that don't talk in shul can't understand the Yetzer Hara of talking in shul. But for some people, they just can't stop talking. It's mamash Shaloi K'derech HaTeva. Everybody works on what's easy for them. That's why it says, Eizo Gibor HaKovesh Es Yitzroi. Who's mighty? Somebody who's kovish his yetzer. It's easy to be kovish Yanim's yetzer. Right? You don't have a yetzer Hara for that. That's not the credit that you're kovish Yanim's yetzer. You have to be kovish your yetzer. That's what it doesn't say. Kovish is a yetzer Hara. It says Yitzroi. You got to know what your yetzer Hara is. And some people have roving eyes. They like to look around. That's their yetzer Hara. They have to be kovish that. And other people have sticky fingers. There's different things. People have different temptations in life. And you have to be kovish your yetzer. When you're kovish your yetzer, and you go Shaloi K'derech HaTeva, then the Rebbeinu Shalom goes Shaloi K'derech HaTeva. First of all, I want to thank everybody for coming and making the minyan possible. Rav Chananya ben Akash Amar, Ratza HaKadosh Baruch Hu, L'Zakos.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.